What's up? It's Tom. Thanks for being here. We're going to discuss another Twins trade item in the news regarding Joe Ryan. Before we get into the particular rumor, I do want to say, obviously all the trade talk this offseason is related to payroll restrictions, and that sucks. However, there are some baseball reasoning to have some of these discussions, at least. Like Joe Ryan, if you don't believe you can extend Joe Ryan, or you don't believe you want to extend Joe Ryan, it makes sense to possibly trade him, see what you can get for him right now, or at the coming trade deadline. What is the actual rumor? Jon Heyman of the New York Post confirmed that the Mets are interested in Joe Ryan. The Twins are reportedly interested in Jonah Tong, the 2025 Baseball America Minor League Pitcher of the Year. Came up with the Mets and struggled in the big leagues, but obviously had the best season in the minors last year. The current Mets rotation, I'm not going to read through that, but you can look at it. It's not great. Nolan McLean is a really good prospect who came up and did pitch well for them. But look at those 2025 rotation rankings: 18th in ERA, 26th in WHIP, 24th in strikeout to walk percentage. So it's obvious that this is a team that's going to be looking to improve its rotation, maybe even desperate to do so, really. So this could be a really great trade partner with the Twins. I'll kind of give you the backstory and how I got into thinking about this so much. We're going to talk a ton about starting pitching prospects in general, not anybody really in particular, but in general and their value right now. You would think top 100 prospects, right? That's probably about 50-50 pitchers to hitters. That is not the case at all, at least right now. Baseball America has only 28 pitchers in their top 100. MLB Pipeline has 31. ESPN has 35. The only Twins pitchers, even though the Twins have one of the better systems in baseball, ranked at midseason by all three of those outlets as a top 5 system in baseball, the only pitchers in the Twins system at midseason that ranked on any list were Connor Prielipp and Charlie Soto, who were both on that ESPN list, but that had a little bit more pitching on it. So, and I'm going to talk about these lists. I don't want to give you the numbers on guys because I want you to go check them out. And, if you're subscribed to Baseball America, they dropped their Twins top 10 for 2026 today, oh, by the way. I think if the Twins are asking for Jonah Tong, I'm not very confident that Joe Ryan's going to get traded. And if you look on either side of the spectrum, you can see Mets fans that really wouldn't want to trade Jonah Tong, and you can find Twins fans that really wouldn't like this idea of trading Joe Ryan for him on the Twins side. So to me, that says it's a fairly good potential trade offer because there's balance on nobody's saying, oh, this is an easy slam dunk. My thing is especially if you're targeting pitching, I don't think you can expect anything higher than Jonah Tong. These are the top 50 pitchers, the top 50 prospects who happen to be pitchers. I should put it that way. So there's 12 guys that Baseball America has in their top 50 at midseason. Again, those are the names. We're not going to go through them all. But I want to talk about some of these teams, like the A's. They're not looking to add, a guy with 2 years of team control and salary. The Phillies maybe, but they were pretty hesitant to talk about Andrew Painter in Juan Duran negotiations. I think they'd prefer to hold on to him. He's pretty high up on the prospect list. The Pirates, they're not looking to add a guy like Joe Ryan. The Marlins, I don't think they are either. The White Sox are not. The Mariners usually would be the type of team that would be a great team to have a conversation with, but they already have a full rotation and some guys coming up through their pipeline as well. So I would say I don't think the Mariners would be like in hot pursuit of Joe Ryan, but maybe they would surprise me. Roki Sasaki of the Dodgers, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think that would be a bad look for them if they were to trade him right a year after signing him, and I don't think they want to damage their reputation on that Japanese market. And then we get to the Mets. There they are again. Nolan McLean. They would prefer to keep him, but he sort of helps them justify dangling Tong out on the market. And the Red Sox are kind of an interesting team because they're going to show up as we continue to talk about this list. But they just traded for Sonny Gray. So I don't know, that doesn't necessarily mean they're done trading. But it's kind of it changes their outlook some. So maybe they would be still interested in Joe Ryan. We know they were interested at the trade deadline, so I wouldn't completely eliminate them. But it's not only that there is a lack of inventory in terms of top-end pitching prospects, but also when you look at the teams that hold these guys, a lot of them aren't going to be looking to add a guy like Joe Ryan. We can continue to look through that list. Numbers 51 through 100. Again, not going to analyze all this stuff. There's a lot of names on here we know that aren't going to be traded, like Trey Yesevich, who came up with the Blue Jays and helped them get to the World Series. He's not going anywhere. Then again, teams like the A's. We talked about the Cardinals in my good conversation in the comments about the Cardinals and whether or not they're looking to add. Just because they traded away Sonny Gray, I don't think means they're completely not looking to add pieces for 2026 or salary. I think there was good reason to trade Sonny Gray regardless. And that team needs to do something to spark that fan base right now. Morale for the Cardinals is probably as low as it's been in my lifetime. And we get some other teams we've talked about already. I'm not going to retouch on those, but like the Nationals, I don't think they're really looking to add a guy like Joe Ryan at this point. The Reds and Angels are interesting, and Orioles too. One thing on the Orioles guy, Mejia, he's like 17 or 18. He's super far away. I'm not sure the Twins would have interest. Rhett Lauder, unfortunately, missed most of last season, so he's kind of a guy who maybe would be difficult to target right now. But those are some teams that might be in the mix as well. And then we get to some guys at the very end of that top 100 list. So again, we're only talking about pitchers here, so maybe this is a good illustration of maybe in any trade talks it'd be better to target position players since there is so much more inventory on that end. But if the Twins are really focused on getting a pitcher for Joe Ryan, I think Jonah Tong is about as high as you could expect in that regard, in part because if you're the Mets, why wouldn't Steve Cohen has the most money of anybody in baseball? Why wouldn't you just go out and sign some guys instead of giving up actual, trade prospect capital to get Joe Ryan? These are the guys still remaining on the free agent market and their projected WAR via Fangraphs. And then for Imai, I want to call out that he's generally ranked as the third guy in this group when you look at, not the projections, when you look at just like free agent rankings, and the projections kind of have a hard time with the guys coming over from Japan. But, to be fair to Joe Ryan, he's every bit as good as these guys pretty much, and he doesn't cost as much. So it's kind of a balancing. But if I'm a Mets fan, I'm thinking, well, I want my cake and eat it too. Let's keep Tong and let's just sign Framber Valdez or Ranger Suarez. I think that's the tricky part about making trades in the off season, especially in this kind of stage of the off season, is there are so many other ways a team can improve. Whereas at the trade deadline, you can only trade and there's less inventory, especially with the expanded playoffs. There's fewer sellers out there. So you can really get teams desperate at the trade deadline. And I don't want to see Joe Ryan traded, period, as a Twins fan. But trying to separate all that and think about this from a baseball perspective, I think my preference would be for the Twins to trade him at the trade deadline. Because again, I think they could get more for him, but it's risky because he might get injured. And then you have, a guy who has a bunch of question marks about him. And if it's always a tricky situation to carry a guy into his last year of team control. Sometimes that can work out great. I think it worked out pretty good with the Twins and Sonny Gray, but you never know. It's tough. But let me know what you think about that. Maybe all we get out of this is, well, maybe they should target position players. Maybe that's what it is. But let me know what you think about all that. Thanks for checking this out. Just want to push the Limestone Pipeline one more time. We're putting out near daily content over there, me and Jamie Cameron, on prospects and draft stuff. So go check that out on Patreon. But appreciate you watching this video. We'll talk again soon.